Hi, everybody. Welcome to Revitalise Meets the podcast business series. And as always, I have the great pleasure of meeting many key influencers and decision makers from across the global network. And today it comes with no question. I'm meeting up with a business professional who's fairly local to the wares and areas of Scotland. Can you please welcome us today, the publisher of Mpowr Publishing, who's been in business now for 12 years. Please welcome today at Revitalise Meets, the one and only, as always, the one and only, Mr. Richard Hagen. Richard, how are you today?
I am greatly, thanks. It's fantastic to be with all the revitalizers for this chat, and hope they find it useful.
You're more than welcome. It's great to welcome you along, and we've got to know you a little bit over the past sort of 12 months working in our little sort of online rooms as such. But would you mind letting everybody know who's been watching and listening a bit about your business and the journey so far?
Yeah, so we are a publishing company that does books and online courses, but really at the heart of it is what we call our mission for change or transformation. So a lot of publishers are about information or about entertainment. We are focused on creating change and creating change at scale, whether that is for children or adults or through businesses or relationships. So that's our mission. And it's been 12 years as a business. It's been kind of an interesting journey, I think I would put that. I think at this point in the business, with all the change that we've gone through, I feel that we're at that point where all of the cogs and all of the gears are working together now. And so COVID has been really interesting, almost in a way of bringing a smoothness to everything. So whether that's working with a business expert to create their intellectual property and then publish that in books, that's one thing, or working with a 10-year-old who is autistic and getting their message out in the world. We just want to do lots more of that kind of change work. So yeah, it's been, I would say the business, we've had 6 businesses really in the 12 years as we've morphed over the years and learn how to do it better and better each time. So we'll keep changing, but that's kind of what we're all about, change and transformation. So we'll just keep getting it stronger. So yeah, so that's a little bit about us.
I think it's really the way you've been sort of, especially some great causes there. You know, the challenges that you have and the books that have been produced from a younger generation to an older generation as well. And bringing to life people's stories in book form, where people can delve in and learn a bit more knowledge about them as well. I think it's a great asset to have. What's been your biggest achievement, or let us say, what's been your biggest challenge that you've had, but you've made an achievement in the end? What's been your biggest one?
I think the biggest challenge as the owner of the business is actually not to be owned by it. I think I spent a lot of the early years in the business, maybe up to the last 2 or 3, where you kind of get swallowed by the business. When you start something up that's a passion project that your heart and your soul is in, it's very easy for it to become all consuming, and while your intentions are noble, you can't survive just on that. So I think that's been the biggest challenge is to kind of take ownership of the business rather than let it consume me or own me. That might sound a little bit abstract, but I suppose I'm guessing most business owners know kind of exactly what I mean by that, and get it in the right perspective for myself. And I think that's where focusing on this change and the change that we want for other people, and then kind of putting it back on myself. Well, what's the change I want for myself? And taking and being much more directive about the business. That's been both the challenge and the kind of success, I would say, in the last year or so, is becoming much more the owner, the director of the business, rather than just letting it kind of run away in many ways.
I think when you look at it though, Richard, it's sort of like the mindset that you're in. Make sure you're in the right mindset. And we talk quite a lot about the employee mindset against or versus the business owner's mindset. And I think what you've gone through in that challenge is to transfer from one to the other, and then not let the business run you. It's for you to run the business.
Absolutely. I think it's very hard though when you're either solopreneur or, I mean, my business, my partner lives down south. I'm up here in the west of Scotland. So it's very hard when you're a small business no matter how strategic you think you're being, it's actually quite hard to be in that ownership position. And the best thing for us has actually been we've worked with 3 Kickstarters for the last 6 months. So we've had them as employees, and that has literally taken our understanding of directing the business to a whole other level. And although they're finishing now, and they'll do freelance for us, we're going to keep in that same strategic ownership level. And that's been a fantastic experience. But it's just going to have to watch out for the slide back. So we'll see how it goes.
You've got to keep the momentum going. You've got to keep pushing forward. And I think when you look at the Kickstarter programs and everything you've been involved with over the last few months, I think that's lifted you up to the next level of having people that are around you, quality people, and who are knowledgeable in your industry to bring you up to the stage where you are now. So super. Yeah, thank you very much. And with everything that's gone on so far, especially that we're living in our little virtual boxes as such for the last sort of 18 to 24 months, how have you adapted your business to work online versus being offline?
We've been really lucky, I think, in the last 2 years, in that our business from the beginning has been a digital-based business. So we're publishers, but we don't have thousands of copies of books sitting in a warehouse somewhere. All our books are print-on-demand titles. So when someone orders, it's printed, it's sent out, bang, it's done. So all of our time and energy and money goes into the products itself. And that, I think we discovered Zoom about 3.5 years ago, so ahead of the crisis, if you want to put it that way. And it was the first time we tried video conferencing and video calls for a few years, because we do a lot of coaching with business writers to help them learn how to write, how to keep their expertise tip top, so that the books they write are as brilliant as they are. But that was really tough when you're having to travel to do it. So Zoom was brilliant for us. So we carried that on. I think ironically, I'm at a point now where I live in my box. This is my office. I work in my box. And before COVID hit, I was going up to London a couple of times a week. I lived down south at that point. Now I've been 18 months in the box and not meeting. And ironically, I'm about to start looking for a collaborative working place that I can go a couple of days a week just for that human interaction and the spark that comes from that. So I'm going back, I'm actually choosing to go back to a kind of hybrid space at the moment. Everything we do with authors and all the business stuff is still digital and remote, but for the human thing, I need to be working somewhere now among other people. And that's part of my next step for managing myself in the business.
I think what you find is there's a hybrid offering now happening within. And when you talked about being online and using Zoom 3 years previous, I hope you would agree with this, but it has opened up the boundaries so much now for contacts. But the travel aspect of it, you're not traveling here then everywhere. It's literally identified quality time that you're spending with potential clients, potential customers that you can work with. So the time's been better. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I mean, that was, even when I was going into London 1 or 2 days a week for meetings or workshops and things, a huge amount of time. And so the fact that now everybody kind of expects first conversations online, that is brilliant. And so, yeah, that has eliminated a lot of wasted time and allows to qualify in and qualify out much quicker. So a quick kind of coffee style chat where you get to know somebody and you get, actually, we're not really the right people to work with you, or wow, this could be fantastic. And it can be much more informal, much more casual. That's the other thing I've really loved is that sense that people aren't putting on as much of a show.
point.
Online. I mean, you can spot that there's still some people who aren't comfortable, and that's different. But most people, the cat walks in, the toddler screams, whatever it is, it's kind of humanized our businesses a bit more, which has been really lovely. And I hope that we don't lose that in the hybrid context. We start pretending to be some big, huge corporate when it's just me, or it's just you, or it's one person in a collab space. I think we actually got something really strong in our personality, and we've allowed that to come out online, which is, I think, is really cool.
I think it's bringing out people's personalities a lot more. And when you do meet up with them, it galvanizes a bit more of the business relationship before you get to meet them face to face. And I think there's going to be, the challenge is getting the balance between the two, the online and offline together. And when that really happens, that's when the magic will really start to work. I feel it's a great asset to have.
Yeah,
definitely.
Absolutely.
So with everything working online and working offline, I always like to ask all my guests their golden top 3 tips. Now, for you specifically, Richard, it's all about looking at who's going to book in them. So what would be your top 3 golden tips for someone looking to produce a book that's within them right now? What would you say to them?
I suppose my first tip before you even think about writing a book is to start thinking about yourself and your business as a publisher. So whether it's Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or whichever other platforms you use, you are publishing content and material, whether it's breakfast photos or whether it's in-depth kind of case studies or whatever. Your business is already a publisher. People can discover stuff about you while you're asleep, online, wherever, that you are publishing. And I'm appalled by the quality of almost every business that I see, the quality of what they're publishing, because it's kind of a lot of the time undermining their brand because it's random. It's not strategic or thought through. So I'm kind of quite cautious on this, is that everything lives forever online. Whatever you are doing, whether it's haphazard or anything, that can come back to bite you. So that would be my first tip, is start to treat your business, your brand, with the quality you would expect from a top publisher, because you are a publisher and it will last. So make sure what you're putting out there is top quality. So that's my first one. Hope that makes sense.
It does indeed. It does indeed.
Right. I think the other thing as well is really think about whether you should write a book, because there are hundreds of thousands of people writing books, business books, every year. And in my opinion, 90 to 95% of them are crap. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, I've now.
Yeah. I think, and it does, and it annoys me because they're done quite often by really brilliant experts, but they regurgitate the same stuff that's out there 100 times over. The 5 keys to this, the 7 magic steps to this, how to do what I've spent 25 years crafting in 5 easy steps, that kind of thing. And it's just not adding to the noise, and they're usually written badly and published really poorly. So that would be my first thing, is think really, really strategically about it. Have you got something to say which is distinctive, which is different, which is disruptive? Because really, if you're just saying the same as everybody else, put your money into marketing or into something else instead. People's time is too valuable for another book saying the same old stuff as everybody else. So that, again, my second top tip, I'm not doing a brilliant job for publishing a book at the moment, but really think about, is it the right thing to do? Because do you want to be one of those 90 or 95% of people who pick the book up and they go, what the heck is this? I've read this 100 times. It's the same old stuff. That instantly damages the brand. So yeah, so that would be my second tip, would be think really carefully before you even start to write a book. Think it through.
And third one, would you say, what would be your last tip in
okay,
general?
I'm going to make this a double header. So and it's a flip of that other one. If you're going to do it, And if you want to be a leader in your field and write something which really creates change in the minds and the actions of your reader, you're going to have to really commit to doing deep work. So really thinking about, you think you've got 20 years of experience and expertise, but you're going to have to think about it completely differently in order to write a brilliant book that speaks directly to the mind and hearts of your reader. So, you know, and also don't be shy, be bold, be prepared to go Marmite. We're told all the time to, you know, kind of be nice, to build trust, but a lot of the stuff around rapport is great, but unless you're saying something that challenges people or really gets them to think about the world in a different way, you're not really going to create change. Because when we like people, in many ways, we kind of think we know everything about them and what they're going to say. So don't be too shy about going Marmite and really speaking out against the taboos and all the frustrations, all the kind of fake stuff that traps people. So yeah, be bold and be Marmite, even although I don't like Marmite. It's brilliant to be that as a brand.
It is. I think it's good when you look at the content as your number one. Is it the right thing, number two? And be bold and brash and be forceful and be just you in pushing it forward. You know, don't think it's be Marmite if you're going to be Marmite, because some people like it, some people don't like it. You got to understand that between the two. 3 great points there, and 3 great golden tips for advice for people who are looking to produce a book that's actually in them right now, because there's a lot of people looking at that recently. Thanks for sharing that. So how much you talk about this quite a lot when I'm speaking to my guests and I'm speaking to connections when I'm out and about across Scotland and further afield. But how much time do you allocate to self-reflection? And you know, there's 3 key areas with self-reflection. Do you spend time with books, time for yourself, with connections, or training, looking for further knowledge? What's your self-reflection, Richard?
Yes, to all 3 and something else. So I think I'm just back from a week's walking holiday in Scotland in October of 21. October, walking holiday Scotland, kind of definition of insane. It was actually really worked out really, really well. So there was lots of time for mulling things over, although it was really nice. I switched off from the business almost completely for a week. So that in and of itself is really, really valuable, to take that switch off time. I do read. I tend to find myself kind of going back to foundation books that really impact me. So things like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, Covey's 7 Habits, that those real quality pieces that we read once and we know we're only scratching the surface of them. So I'd much rather go back to those kind of books than chase 50 magical marketing solutions. Let's get really powerful, deep change stuff. So that's the kind of reading I do. I love networking. I love that kind of social scenario. So online webinars and seminars and things, like when I've had a chance to do the insight sessions with Revitalise and just learn. You can always learn something, even if it's a disconnected area. How can I apply this? How can I use this? Or, oh, that's just a different angle we would never have thought of.
Yeah.
I think the other bit for me, and it's partly being an extrovert, is the reflection. There's an element of reflection happens when I present something. So it's that sense that I know it when I know it when I can share it and I can teach it. But that's the end of a long reflective process. It's not the starting point. So it's a real mixture of solo stuff, books, and that kind of sharing as well.
Yeah, it's a good point that you've put in there, and especially when you share from what you've been presenting on, is it taking a deeper dive on what you've been doing, and it's that self-reflection afterwards. And I think you're right. Many people and business owners need to take more opportunity of this, and you know, we're all guilty of it. Is that, you know, you take some time off for holiday and you get distracted. You know, if you take time off from holiday, you unplug and literally recharge or revitalize your batteries type thing. So, and even in that sense, when you're doing your walks and, you know, out and about in the fresh air, just gives you time to look about and listen to your internal voice of what's been going on and reconnect with people you haven't seen in such a long while. It's such a tonic when you get that as well. So thank you for sharing that, and so pleased to hear that you had a great week's holiday. You feel refreshed coming back now. Thanks so much. So thanks so much for sharing all your thoughts today, really, Richard. It's been a real insight into Mr. Hagen's sort of like journey and business and thought process at present. But as always, what's around the corner? What's next for you? What's your next objectives or next goals that you're aiming for?
We've done a huge amount of almost simplifying in the last 6 months or so, and so we're launching 3 or 4 new websites kind of all around this time at the moment. So our core website, mpowrpublishing.com, is about to relaunch, but we've kind of really shaped our focus for working with business people on creating their intellectual property and turning that into books and online courses, essentially creating a product business for them. So that is called Immersive Publishing, immersive.pub. We also can work with anybody on their book to publish it. So essentially, we invest in many projects as part of Mpowr Publishing, but a lot of business writers, they want to publish a business book, and we help them publish it properly, full content edit, full design, all of that, and that's publishing as a service. So that is a new site going live very soon under bookbrandbusiness.co.uk. So there's a lot going on, and so I'm looking forward to lots more of those business projects where we mentor people through them, and also the ones where we help take that manuscript they've already got and absolutely polish it and perfect it so they get great results when it's published. And I'm most excited about a thing called the Supermissions Project. So it's the supermissionsproject.com, and that's really our kind of heart project for the business. So we published a book a few years ago by a young lad called Tyler called Invisible Me. Tyler, brilliant young man with Asperger's on the autistic spectrum, and that book has changed how thousands of people think about autism. It's his experience from the inside, and it's the thing we're absolutely proudest of. And with the Supermissions Project, we just want to speak to other people who've got similar stories, whether that's neurodiversity, mental health, gender, orientation, race, those who are not heard or seen as they should be. And we want to help them raise their visibility and be seen by publishing their stories through books and on our online platform. So that's the supermissionsproject.com.
Brilliant, absolutely super. There's so much exciting times ahead for you, Rich, and all I can do is wish you all the very best for the endeavours that's going to happen, and I'm looking forward to being part of that journey with you as well, with the rest of the RBC membership also. Now everyone's been watching and listening to us today on the podcast on Anchor and also on the YouTube channel. How can people make contact with you if they've heard something, that golden nugget that's thought, right, I need to speak to Richard Hagen? How can they get in touch with you? How can they connect with you, Richard?
Let's keep it simple. So I could give you lots of emails, but let's stick to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably the simplest way to connect with me. So do a connection request on LinkedIn. So I'm Richard Hagen, Hagen, publisher at Mpowr Publishing. If you want to connect, make sure you put a note in telling me where you've heard me or found me, just so that I can then follow that through in the contact, or give me a shout. All my contact details are on there as well. So LinkedIn, simplest way to get in touch with me.
Simple, short and straight to the point, Richard. Thank you very, very much for that. And I would highly recommend everybody who's watching and listening, if you've got a book in you, or you know somebody who's got a book in them, reach out to Richard, make that contact, go through LinkedIn, start the virtual conversation. And then you never know, you might have a virtual face-to-face eventually cup of coffee with Richard as well. So Richard, thank you so much for today. Greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for spending it with me today on the Revitalise Meets podcast series.
Lee, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
No trouble at all. And thank you to you all for watching and for listening today to Revitalise Meets the Business Podcast Series. Stay tuned for many more interviews coming very soon with windswept and interesting key influencers, business professionals, again, who can help you with your global network. So stay tuned, everybody, for the next Revitalise Meets coming very, very soon. From me and Richard, we wish you all the very best. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, keep connecting, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye for now.